Romans chapter 8, verse 29, take a look at what this verse says, the biblical evidence. It says, for whom he foreknew. Before, when is before? Those centuries where Paul invites you to be a participant. For whom he foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren. This means that the Apostle Paul says, notice what he says. He says, do not conform to this age, because you come from another age. The verse mentions that it was when we shared in flesh and blood that the issue arose. Everything was fine until we participated in flesh and blood, and sin overshadowed. Sin clouded our understanding. We are deprived of the glory of God. Then Paul says to Timothy, listen, Timothy, a grace was bestowed upon you before the ages of the world began. Do not conform to this current age, because a specific knowledge and wisdom were imparted to you before the ages of ages. And then in Romans 8:29, it just verified that those whom he knew beforehand, and if he knew them, he educated them, he formed them, he taught them. We were intelligent beings in spirit. It was when we participated in flesh that things went wrong. That is why Romans chapter 8 verse 29 says, those whom he foreknew he also called, and those he also predestined. And finally, let us verify this by reading John chapter 6 verse 45. Look what this verse says. John chapter 6 verse 45, look what it says. It is written in the prophets, and they shall all be taught by God. Therefore, everyone who has heard and learned from the Father comes to me. Look at it closely on the screen, pay attention. It says, therefore, everyone who has heard and learned from the Father comes to me. Just look how marvelous that is, my dear friend and brother. The prophets give testimony in the Old Testament for all those who listened to the Father and took lessons from him. Pastor, and when did we learn about God? Well, in your pre-existence, when you existed with God, when God created you and gave you a creation in his image. Do you remember when, back in the book of Job, one day the sons of God came to stand before him, and Satan came among them to accuse? Do you remember when he accused? It means that in the past, the sons of God gathered with God. There were meetings in that angelic community where everything God created was. Remember that what God created were archangels, cherubim, seraphim, angels. It was an angelic community. That is why the Bible says that he makes his angels spirits. In Hebrews chapter 1, he calls his angels spirits. We are a spirit. We possess a previous existence before we inhabit the body. And do you know how that is? What body did our spirit have? An angelic body, an angelic being. But what happens? From that third portion, one of them departed to join Satan. Two of them remained with God. And from those 2/3, one would be known as children. They would take shape. They would come here to earth. And another would remain as angels who serve those who live here on earth. In Hebrews chapter 1 verse 14 says, are they not all ministering spirits, angels sent forth to minister for those who will inherit salvation? And so we have these angels who are here to serve us, angels who protect us. But you were a spirit who existed before the foundation of the world, and now you have participated in flesh.